Think about something you did recently that made you proud of. Maybe it was nailing a new recipe, preparing the new perfect margarita for your friends, finishing that school assignment, or perhaps sharing your thoughts in an article or video. It could even be a poem you keep tucked away or tackling your work tasks with focus and care. Do you ever feel the sense of accomplishment when you pour your heart into something? That feeling, that's a glimpse of excellence. The ancient Greeks had a word for this kind of excellence, Areté. And who better to help us understand what it truly means than Aristotle? Imagine him in a conversation with thinkers like Descartes and Viktor Frankl, in a meeting of minds you wouldn't believe. Ancient, modern, and contemporary thoughts in the same room? Imagine no longer. Today, they'll guide us in reflecting not only on excellence, but also in those feelings of dissatisfaction we feel sometimes at work. Let's start with Aristotle explaining the term arete.
Hello, everyone. I am Aristotle, the founder of the Peripatetic School in the Lyceum in ancient Athens. My most significant work in ethics is the Nicomachean Ethics. That's where I reflect on happiness, which requires a good character, moral, or ethical virtue of excellence. Arete means using your reason to achieve excellence. You will achieve this better when you work on things that are aligned to your nature. But excellence should be a habit. There is one purpose for doing everything you do with excellence. This is what you call happiness, and I call eudaimonia. Excellence impacts two fundamental aspects of your perception of happiness in the contemporary working world: the value and meaning of your work.
Great introduction. Let's understand what you mean by value. Is the value how much I get paid for my work?
The perceived value of your work is directly linked to the pride you take in what you do. You know how to do it, and you know you do it well. Because of that, you value what you accomplish and take pride in the results. If you don't see value in what you do, who else will? How will you claim a new opportunity or promotion? First, you must recognize the value in what you do.
When we think of excellence and value, I think about art. And an artist executes an idea. And when the work is excellent, the result is art. My grandmother, for example, creates these beautiful embroidery works with so much care in the details, making sure the opposite side of the work is well done. I admire her excellence. Is that what you mean?
Exactly. She wouldn't have the same result if she was working on something against her nature. Let's say she wasn't patient to work on the small squares across the fabric. But she could still do it well done because it is her habit to work with care, and habit is second nature. The result of her work makes her proud and happy.
What about meaning? Is that being paid? Is that all?
It's more than that. Your work can take on even greater meaning when you understand how it impacts people's lives.
And what if what I do is irrelevant?
There is no work that is not important. Even if your task seems like just a small piece of a larger mechanism, it fits into a greater context. Think about the result of your work as a link in a chain. Every job, every action has an end goal, which leads to another and another until reaching the ultimate goal: happiness. A critical aspect of work is how it contributes to the meaning of life. For this topic, I'll hand it over to Viktor Frankl.
Thank you, my friend. Hello, everyone. My name is Viktor Frankl, a psychologist, philosopher. I survived the horrors of Holocaust and founded the Logotherapy, a school of psychotherapy that describes a search for a life's meaning as the central human motivational force. The Logotherapy is based on three pillars: the freedom of will, the will to meaning, and the meaning of life. A message I shared in my book Man's Search for Meaning is: one should not ask what the meaning of life is, but rather must recognize that it is oneself who is being asked.
I feel like we have been asking the wrong question all this time. The right question is, not what I expect from life, but what life expects from me, and give this, whatever is expected, with excellence. Is that what you mean?
Exactly. The meaning of life includes the will to meaning, which your question demonstrates. Excellence is the way you will perform whatever the answer to this question is.
I agree. That's a great question. And the most important thing to remember is that striving for excellence in what aligns with your nature and gives meaning to your actions is a path to a fulfilling life.
It can be challenging to figure out this aspect. How does someone know what aligns to their nature? Some people try different things and struggle to know.
If someone has this in mind and is trying things and observing, that's a good start. Because knowing what your nature is requires self-knowledge. Nobody should be so busy of having no time to reflect on it.
Now, let's complicate things a little bit. What if we are aware of the value of the work we do and find meaning in what we do, but still feel unhappy at work?
In that case, it's necessary to understand the causes of dissatisfaction. You need to act like a detective. Analyze, organize your thoughts, look for clues, connect the dots, and slowly reach the core of the issue. After all, each case is unique, and the reasons can vary. Two important aspects related to job dissatisfaction in the contemporary world are the nature of the work, because it may not align with your nature, what we just discussed. Problematic leadership.
Let's start with the nature of work. What happens if you feel overqualified for what you do and end up feeling unmotivated? Isn't that a problem?
The problem arises when someone believes they are too good for their job, loses interest, and starts working carelessly. Before they realize it, they become a mediocre professional. Until you find work aligned with your nature, continue doing your best.
But there is also the opposite situation, when the job demands more than a person is capable of delivering.
In that case, one must seek balance, the golden mean. Remember, a consistent poor execution of work can damage your reputation, lead to mistakes, harm your self-esteem, and become an escalating problem. I'll pass the word to Descartes, who might have a different opinion about excellence, as a critic of my virtues and who can speak about error.
Virtues are good values, but philosophy didn't give the answers I was looking for. So I had to develop the method to let my reason guide me.
Reason is the path to virtues because virtues are not achieved by nature or against it. They are the result of habit. I suspect we agree on this.
We agree on the reason, especially on avoiding error and achieving excellence. To perform well and avoid error, one must use reason, get knowledge, learn the technique, and develop skills to execute with excellence. The error is the absence of knowledge. It reduces your chances of growing. In my fourth meditation, I discuss the origin of error. It is not merely a defect or a lack of some perfection that is not due to me, but rather the deprivation or absence of certain knowledge that, in some way, should be within me. It is reckless to take on a task for which you are not fully prepared. If the issue is an overwhelming workload, it is necessary to rationally discuss it with leadership. For any situation, asking the right questions will help you and your leadership to identify the problem, which is the first step to work on a solution.
Since you mentioned leadership, what if the problem is a weak leader, an unqualified boss? What if the lack of qualification is in the leader themselves?
Such a leader can damage everyone's happiness due to a lack of skills or moral issues. In that case, we are not talking about a virtuous leader. I recommend prudence in handling the situation. Do not neglect the virtues of excellent people, those who care about honor, undertake great endeavors, and do not blindly submit to others' wills. Remember, virtue results from habit and must be cultivated like a plant. A prudent, self-assured person does not hold grudges, badmouth others, constantly complain, or engage in petty conflicts. Instead, they seek ways to resolve adversities, which are part of human life. A virtuous person identifies problems and responsibly initiates an action plan, thoughtfully, courageously, and above all, using reason to reach sound deliberation.
We agree that identifying the problem is the first step toward a solution.
Exactly. Decision, knowledge, and action. The key is that nothing should serve as an excuse for neglecting excellence. Remember, excellence is not about being better than others, but about being better than you were yesterday. It's about doing your best with the resources you have and maintaining continuous growth. When you think you're better than others, you risk complacency and mediocrity. But when you recognize your own excellence, you take pride in what you do. This is Areté. It is a virtue.
I want to thank our great philosophers for this deep conversation. To summarize, remember to ask yourself the two essential questions to help you reflect on happiness at work. What is the value of your work to you? What is the meaning of what you do? We are talking about the 3 pillars of happiness at work: excellence, engagement, and emotions. Next week, we'll continue this conversation and we'll discuss engagement and how it affects your work. If you know someone who could benefit from this content, share it. If you want me to bring other philosophers to discuss, like and leave a comment below. Thanks for watching.